If you go back 50 years when I was working on Wall Street and when my brother was working at Procter & Gamble, a young man, and there weren't many women, would join Procter & Gamble, General Motors or AT&T or IBM straight from college. He'd be 21 and as a junior manager, and as he worked his way up the ladder of promotion, he would learn what we call the craft of management. And we believe, my brother and I, that management is essentially a craft. It's not something about which there is a great deal of theory. It's something you learn how to do under the supervision of a more experienced person. And so as you worked your way up the chain of command, you acquired the craft of management, but you acquired something else as well. I'm going to use a phrase that's been launched by a very great American called Jeff Immelt, whom I'm sure you know is the chairman and chief executive of General Electric. And he says that all managers must possess domain knowledge. And domain knowledge means you actually know a lot about the business of your company. Now that may seem so obvious, it's not even worth saying, but there's a great phrase in the practice of management. One of my favorite Druckerisms is that it's important to state the obvious because otherwise it may be overlooked. And this is the amazing thing that's happened. By the way, I have to blame the business schools, and I speak as someone who is a visiting fellow at Manchester Business School. But it is a fact, I think, that the business schools introduced a new concept, which really came in about 1970, that management was a profession like dentistry or medicine or the law, and you went to business school for 2 years, you came out with a degree in management, and then you could manage anything because you had a degree in management. And you no longer needed to learn the craft of management, so a lot of MBAs would go straight into consultancy or to Wall Street, or they would get onto a fast track in a corporation. So they never really were able to acquire the craft of management, and they didn't really need domain knowledge, because if you're a professional manager, you can manage anything. And so they would flip typically. 50 years ago, most young people, most men, would stay in the same corporation for their entire life, or they might stay in the same industry. It would be very rare for them to move industries. So they acquired domain knowledge. One of the reasons why we've had this appalling credit crunch is that banks are run by non-bankers. They're run by, sometimes they're called financial engineers. Engineering companies are run by people who don't understand engineering. Chemical companies are run by people who don't understand chemistry. And it seems to me that the great problem, the great requirement now is to go back. I know it sounds silly. Going forward will consist of going back in an important sense to an age where young men and women joined a company, learned the craft of management on the job under the supervision of a good manager, and acquired domain knowledge. And that will be a major step forward.